Good morning, church.
Good morning.
Try it again. Good morning, church. Good morning. Good. Be thankful you came to this Mass, because last night I had spent hours and hours and hours preparing this homily, and it was the worst. And 5 o'clock I had to suffer through it. On my morning walk, I finally came to my senses and said, oh my gosh, Greg, what have you done? So you get the more polished version of what 9 o'clock got. Yeah. Poor Father, he's had to sit through 2 of them. We want to talk about forgiveness. And I want to start with talking about forgiveness from God's side. God never changes. God always loves us. God is always calling us home. God is always ready to forgive us. God is always ready to claim us as his son and daughters. That never changes. We may change. We do. But God doesn't change. God has to always be true to himself. Therefore, God will always love us. God will always call us home. God will always forgive us. And God is always ready to claim us as his son and daughters. Don't ever forget that. Too often, we think to ourselves, oh my gosh, I've really done it now. How is ever God going to forgive me? And what we have just done when we stated that is we've made God less than God is. We have just stated what we do here is greater than what God can be. I'm here to tell you that isn't true. Yes, God is greater. Thank you. You should have been at 5. God is powerful. The next point that I want to make about forgiveness is forgiveness is all about you. It's not about the other person. It's all about you. You can't control the other person. You can control what goes on in your life. And what I mean by that is, a lot of times we think somebody has offended us. 90% of the time, they don't even know that you're thinking that. They don't even know that they've hurt you. They didn't do anything intentional. It's not about them, it's about you. It's about you getting straight with God and your neighbor. It's about not holding on to that junk that's holding us back. As Father said, from the blessings that'll flow to us from God. We need to be able to put that stuff behind us. And that's why reconciliation is so important. That's why going to a spiritual director is so important. To hear those words of absolution, to know that you are in right standing with God and your neighbor. know that once God has forgiven those sins, they are forgotten. They're to the back. They no longer exist. This is not what forgiveness is. Let me give you an example. When I worked at the correctional facility, I used to have to handle employee grievances. And maintenance was one of the areas that reported to me. One day I got a grievance from my plumber. And so I called Phil up, and I said, Phil, what's up with this? We got a good relationship. Why the grievance? He said, well, 10 years ago. And I said, Phil, I wasn't even here 10 years ago. He said, but 10 years ago they said this would never happen. He'd been holding that in his hip pocket for 10 years, waiting for that to happen. Forgiveness doesn't work that way. We can't say we forgive and forget something, hold it in our back pocket, and wait to pull it out. That's revenge. That's not forgiveness. Forgiveness takes all that trash, the hate, the jealousy, all the sin, the division, and pushes it to the past. If we don't push it to the past, we can't move forward. You've heard fathers say it many times. It's like having a chair chained to us and we're dragging it around. We have to be able to forgive ourselves. God has. We have to be able to forgive others. God has. God wants us to live this wonderful life, greater and more powerful than we can begin or even imagine. But in order to do so, we have to forgive us. We have to forgive ourselves. God will always love us. God is always calling us home. God is ready to forgive us. God wants to claim us as his sons and daughters.